Hello everyone. I see that SMGs are going to be a constant debate with Warzone. I'll go ahead and show you why I ignore SMGs and instead use a single Burst Renetti. Before we get into the comparisons, let me just give you a recap of my prior recording. In my prior recording, I was saying a single Burst Renetti has 19 meter range. While I don't know the specific numbers to it for Warzone, I get a feeling that based on its multiplayer stats, it should be more than enough for Warzone. So the reason that I use a single burst Renetti instead of a Kimbo is because I want to ensure that I am accurate at that 19 meter range. If I have to use a pistol for that range and close quarters, then I want to be flexible in that. And Akimbo is not the answer to that. Akimbo makes it less flexible because Akimbo is just going to make it less accurate. With the recap out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the MP7 and why I think it's the wrong answer for Warzone. So you'll notice on this particular picture that its range is less than an MP5 because the MP5's base range is 12.5 meters. You'll notice the base range for this is less than 12.5. That's just awful. Top in the fact that the MP7 has a slower time to kill than the MP5. Yes, it gets a bigger magazine. Yes, it's easier to control. But at the end of the day, if you're using an SMG like the MP7 or MP5, then you're going to be using it for close quarters anyways, which at that point, recoil doesn't matter. If you can't hit a target at 12.5 meters, something is wrong with you. But moving on to MP5. So you can see where I was going with that. So you notice that the MP5's base range is 12.5 meters. If you use the monolithic integral suppressor, which is the barrel, it will give you more damage range than the monolithic suppressor, which is the muzzle attachment. If you're using the monolithic integral suppressor, it will bring the range up to about 14.06 meters. I'm assuming that the game rounds it off somewhere. It's very odd to have a 0.0 number, but regardless, that's the range you're looking at. That's not a lot for Warzone. The hospital building in particular has some areas, even on the inside, where it's greater than 12.5. So at that point, you're going to be hitting your damage drop-offs with the MP5, and for that matter, the MP7, because the MP7 would need the FSS recon to even get close to what an MP5 is doing with its monolithic integral suppressor. So your next option after this, the MP5 that is the P90. You'll notice that its base range is a lot higher. Once you start adding in the 10.6 inch barrel, things get a little bit better. With a 10.6 inch barrel, you'll reach 19 meters effective range. So that's a little bit better. Yes, its time to kill is going to be slower than the MP5. You're looking at a comparison of, I think it's 504. Let me double check that. Yeah, you're looking at a base 504 millisecond time to kill against 3 armor plates, whereas the P90 is 582 on 3 armor plates. So in a way, the P90 is making up for its time to kill in the fact that it's already got a high base range, which does make it a bit more flexible than the MP5, because at that point, you're essentially giving yourself the ability to hit at both close and long range combat. Well, excuse me, medium range combat, I should say. Long for an SMG, though, because this is pretty long range for an SMG. So if my recommendation for a single Burst Renetti gets ignored, then my personal recommendation would be a P90 or an MP5. Those are the only two SMGs I would ever look at if I am going to be recommending a submachine gun to somebody. With that out of the way, I want to real quickly talk about the data mining or leaks. It's hard for me to tell where the source is, but I've noticed a few YouTube videos indicating that there's 4 possibilities for Season 4 weapons. Those 4 possibilities are the Galil, which would be an AR, the AP9 or something like that, which is an SMG, Vector, which is another SMG, and then finally a G28, which is a marksman rifle. If one of those two SMGs becomes a Season 4 weapon, then it's going to need good range and a good time to kill to even be good at Warzone. If it does not accomplish those two tasks, then it is highly likely that the older weapons will be better than it. That's kind of what we saw with the Season 3 weapons with the SKS. The SKS, while it's super easy to use and stuff, the problem is that its range is lower than an EBR-14. Knowing that Warzone is all about range, then the EBR-14 tends to win against the SKS just because of the fact it has an insane amount of range for a marksman rifle. So I would hate to see a similar thing happen to the SMGs. But knowing Call of Duty and that they don't seem to have much of a plan with these things, I get a feeling it will probably happen. But we'll see if they can surprise me. But that's the most I have. I just want you to be aware of what's going on going into Season 4 and what to use right now. Thanks for listening.